to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And Courtney, how are you?
Well, I've moved locations again. I am
This time you're in
now
outer space.
now I'm in outer space. Do you know what season this is from?
It is, I don't know what
Or what Doctor it's
season.
from?
It's the fourth Doctor. I don't know what
Mm.
season it's either the fourth or the fifth.
hmm I don't know. I haven't seen it. So I'm hanging with the fourth or the fifth Doctor. Getting really into my sci-fi elements. But yeah, I'm fine. Today is my first day jobless for real. So I'm just coasting. We had a really, first of all, everything was mass chaos before I got off yesterday. As you can imagine, everyone decided everything that they needed from me
They needed.
yesterday.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then they were all mad at me because I was like, I don't have time to do all of those things. We are leaving at 2 today, and I got there at 10. Like, I don't have time to do all of these things. And they're like, no, but it has to be done. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. You should ask for it a week ago. I could have done it a week
Right.
ago, but here we
Yeah.
are. So I just gave everyone logins to my computer, and I was like, find what you need. Like, everyone can
I'm
now figure it
fucking
out.
done. I'm out.
Bye. Yeah, but no, we went to the you know the Moxie
Mhm.
in Midtown. So we went to the restaurant Legacy for lunch. And
Nice.
I've never been to the restaurant. I've been to the Mox yet. I still haven't been to the mini golf park because it's always closed when I'm there. But I've been to the Moxie and it's really nice. We went to Legacy and they do like this unlimited ribeye. And so like
Nice.
4 of us got the unlimited ribeye and they just keep bringing it to you and it's like family style. And so you get like salad for I ate like a salad and then I ate like 3 fries because I wanted to save room for the steak, obviously.
Yeah,
It
obviously.
was really good. We had like crab cake beignet, or it wasn't crab cake beignets because it doesn't have all the onions and stuff that crab cakes have in them, but it was like
Mm,
crab beignets. And they were
interesting.
delicious. They look like macaroons, not beignets by any means.
No,
But it's
that's
fine.
a beignet and a macaron are not the same thing.
They're
Also,
not the same
a
thing.
macaron and a macaron are also not the same thing, but
Correct. Correct. Yes. But it looked like a macaron, not a macaroon. Macaroon's the coconut one, right?
yeah,
Yeah, no, it looked like a macaron. And then we
which I'm
had
sure
like
was delicious, but
oysters.
is not a beignet.
My gosh, it was incredible. I ate 2 of them. I'm sure that one was supposed to go to someone else, but it was my going away, so I had 2 of them. I mean, they were literally the size of like macarons, so they were tiny,
Yeah.
but it was delicious. And then we had this really fun dessert that wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. But it was like a strawberry shortcake with like a bourbon like anglaise sauce. Like it was so strange and they bring it out. Maybe I'll post a picture if I think about it. If I think I have a picture, but I'll send it to you regardless.
Okay.
And it's this big strawberry. And do you remember? So it made me think of this strawberry container my mom used to have that she put like cookies in. I don't know if you remember the early 90s strawberry fruit decorations that were like
Oh,
glass and really
I,
ceramic,
I,
not glass, sorry, really thick ceramic type feel.
I don't. Most people I knew were part of the lemon craze of kitchens in the 90s, not the
But it was that same
strawberry. It was
style,
that
you
same
know?
style. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's that really thick, like ceramic material that they just kind
Paint,
of paint.
kind of paint,
So
but
like the
not
paint is
well.
coming off. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's shaped like a fruit. And then you can get plates and cups and literally any, like go to the 90s and you can pick a fruit and you can decorate your entire kitchen in it.
Yes.
So we had a
Entire
strawberry,
kitchen.
the entire one. We had a strawberry, and literally that's what I thought they were bringing me because it was this giant strawberry, and I was like, it's a strawberry shortcake, mind you, so I don't know what's happening. And then they go to like they go to pour the like sauce on it because it's like this bourbon sauce, and as soon as it does, it like explodes. I screamed. I had no idea what was happening. It was the what, and then underneath is like the shortcake. Like it was so strange. I will send you a picture. Um,
I've seen like burn away cakes or like melting
yeah,
tops. Explosion, not the word I would like with my dessert.
no, it was
Unless there's pop rocks.
no, it was not Pop Rocks. It like literally she was like, you might want to take a video because like it's like a thing. I was like, it's like a whole experience. She was like, yeah, it's like a whole experience. And
Mm,
I'm gonna send it to you like broken too.
okay,
Um,
cool.
but yeah, so I had, and then the cake like wasn't that good because it was really moussey. It didn't have a lot of shortcake, and that's like
Ew.
the best part of strawberry shortcake is to have that
Yeah.
like sponginess. Um,
Yeah.
so it was just very
See,
strange. The sauce was great.
when I have strawberry shortcake, which I don't obviously have most of the time because I can't eat
Right.
strawberries.
Yeah.
But like when we make strawberry shortcake, I use angel food cake, not
Yeah.
actual
Well, that's what a lot of
shortcake.
people do. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love angel food
So
cake.
good.
And even like shortcake, like if you have an actual shortcake, it's like crummy. It's not moussey.
Yeah, well, they just didn't have cake. It was like a very thin layer of sponge, like you're having like in a is it like a petit-four? Is that what they do with the th is that what you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
like that with like a huge layer, like two huge layers of mousse. And we also got a carrot cake, and that one was much better. But I didn't want that because they said it was like coconut filling in the middle with like pineapple jam. And I was like, that sounds strange. But then it was like the coconut filling did not taste like coconut filling. It was more like when you have a coconut pie that doesn't have actual coconut in it, or coconut cake without actual coconut in it.
Oh,
So it's
that's
just like
weird.
a almost like a sweet cream cheese taste.
Yeah, so I'm
Um,
looking at the picture of what it looked like before and after, and I would have been terrified if that exploded at me.
I screamed. I didn't know it was gonna explode. She just starts pouring sauce on it. I was like, how do you eat this? It's so big, like it's the size of my head. And then it exploded, and I screamed. So,
Valid.
so that's the energy I'm coming off of. How are you?
Right. I'm really good. I am not, but it's fine.
Okay, heard.
Basically I have now for the second time, third break in a row, been had a lot of plans of being productive and did none of them. But that's not actually entirely true. Like yesterday, I had a very productive day. I scheduled my fitting for the bridesmaid's dress for my sister's wedding. I scheduled a meeting with my principal to work on testing. I made invitations and sent them all out and planned, got some more planning done for my sister's bachelorette party. I paid off all of my credit cards, all
Oh
of
my
them.
God, congrats.
I have
Look
no
at
credit card debt.
you.
For the first time in my adult life, I have no credit card debt.
That's
Um,
amazing. I'm looking forward to that being me soon.
I did make a couple purchases yesterday that I will then have to pay off next month. But like making like normal purchases and paying them off the next month is like what you're supposed to
Adult
do.
life. Right,
Yeah,
like
you're
that's how it's
because
supposed to
you're
go.
supposed to buy things on your credit cards and then use your bank account to pay off your credit cards because you don't want
Right,
your
to
bank
get
account
the rewards and
numbers.
credit.
Like if you get rewards, you get credit, and you also don't give your bank account number to companies.
Right,
So like it's fine. I'm not doing, but I have no actual like debt.
sure.
So that was so I did do productive things. I just like didn't do any of the like school planning or like resume making or like grad school things that I like said I was gonna do. I
Sure.
did none of
Mhm.
them. And that is because I also finally 100% beat Hogwarts Legacy.
No, I haven't even played. Oh my gosh, I haven't played in so long. It's literally,
I
I have it in my purse. I've just been
I
carrying it everywhere.
I beat the whole game last week.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm playing it tonight. That's what I'm doing with my life tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch horror movies and play Hogwarts. Like that's all I want to do.
Yeah. I did. I finished it. And then I was like, oh my God, now I finished Hogwarts. I can be productive again because I won't get distracted by Hogwarts. But then Dan wanted to start a new show, so then I got distracted again.
Oh, what did you start?
The West Wing,
Oh, right.
which the announcement is on an episode that comes out after this. So stay tuned to Thursday to know why Courtney and I are just talking about that like that's already a thing. We recorded out of order this
No
week. It's very
one
interesting.
knows what day it is.
We
Sorry.
recorded out of order
Sorry.
this week and we're all fucked up because of it.
And the
But
wrong
so
days. We're on the wrong day too.
yeah,
So
so stay tuned till Thursday to find out why it's important that Dan and I started watching The West Wing. But it also now means that I once again have something to hyperfixate on that is not the work I need to fucking do.
excellent. I love it.
So like
Yeah,
other
well, if
than
you just
that,
quit all your jobs and quit being in a home. You can hyperfixate on whatever you want now. That's my new plan. So good
Yeah.
luck, world.
Thanks. We're doing so well. But you know what would make me thrive?
Sure do. Sure do. It's a little spirituality, which I do have ready because I prepped like 8 in advance.
Yes.
I just didn't have it open.
It's okay. I had one prepped for the last episode we were recorded, and then we didn't do it because we had a weird format.
Oh, oh right. Did we not do it on the last one?
Nope.
Whoops. I sure meant to still include it. My
Yeah,
bad.
but as
Things
you'll see
happen.
on Thursday, just good luck on Thursday's episode of the podcast. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Okay.
Because I also haven't edited it yet, but I'm pretty sure it's about 2 hours long.
I think we got it to 1:45. I tried to like watch the clock because I was trying to corral everything
I,
as it
I
was
was,
happening.
yeah, I was watching the clock too, and I was like, why is this happening? But I also drank half a
Yeah.
bottle of wine, so I wasn't really stopping it. Um,
Yeah, that's fair. Well, I have for you some news guidance. The
yes.
truth is, you never return to being who you remember before life was turned upside down, but you can embrace who you were meant to become in the turnaround. Madam K. Poetess.
Love that.
Yeah. Do you like that it wasn't R.M. Drake?
I do appreciate that it wasn't RM Drake.
I don't think I have any saved from them right now. These are all from different people that I have saved right now.
Yay. I just started to read the wrong notes and was like, that isn't the episode we're talking about. It's not. Okay.
It's okay.
I had it open to the wrong page. Today we are talking about Stargate SG-1 Season 5, Episode 15, Summit. It was rated 8.1 stars, which is nice because we've had a run of some sevens, but
Eight,
and
eights is good. I might even want to give it like an 8.3, but
yeah,
eights is good. Eights is good.
I think 8.1 is fine. I do think that the part 2 is a little bit better of the two-parter.
Yeah. I'd give it like an 8.5, 8.6.
Yeah, don't worry, they didn't. So
Great. Excellent. Well, they don't like Stargate then, because I feel like we are back to Stargate now. Like,
yeah. This episode came out on Friday, March 22nd, 2002. We have the same song as last week. The top book was Second Chance by James Patterson and Andrew Gross. I don't know anything about the book, but we've all discussed many times on this podcast that I have never read anything by James Patterson. So,
oh my gosh. So I'm so sorry to cut you off. I'm staying in Noelle's spare bedroom at their house, and they have a whole bookshelf in there, and it's like Stephen King and James Patterson. Like that is the entire bookshelf. I was like, what if I just hang out in the bedroom all day and read their books?
No, yeah,
so
do it.
Maybe I'll read some of these James Patterson ones.
I do also want to throw the movie chat to you because it is a movie that I know you have seen that I still have not. I have, but not in any capacity that I could talk about it because the top movie for that day was Blade 2.
So this one's the vampires, right? This is the vampires, not Blade Runner.
Yes, this is the superhero vampires.
Oh my gosh, yes. Which I didn't know how I was going to feel about it because I'm always like, I don't know why. I always feel hit or miss about Wesley Snipes. I think he was a criminal before, if I remember correctly. And I think that's why I feel this like edginess.
He was atrocious to work with on the Blade movies, and it was a whole hot mess.
Yeah. The second one, I don't remember it being anything like massive.
No, the first one was like a big deal, and then the third one was a big deal because Ryan Gosling was in it.
Right.
And then I don't remember.
Reynolds. Was it Gosling?
Was it? Am I wrong about which Ryan? It might be Ryan Reynolds, but I could have sworn. No, you're right. It is Ryan Reynolds because he's been in like 14 different superhero movies.
Yeah, it's Reynolds. Yeah, he's in all of them. He's in all the superhero movies.
Yes.
But yeah, so Blade 2 is probably the weakest for me. Because Blade 1 really set up the trilogy, and then Blade 3 didn't really fit the rest of them, but it was just fun to watch because you had Ryan Reynolds and Jessica Biel and
and
just a good time.
I will say, Blade 2 premiered this day, which is why it was
Mhm,
number
that's why it's
one.
so high. Mhm.
It didn't stay number one for long.
No,
Um,
no one knew they weren't gonna like it till it got there.
right. And this was premiere day and it was a Friday. And that's the
Uh-huh.
interesting thing is because Stargate comes out on Fridays, I have a lot of new movies to talk about because things don't continue because Friday is the day that it comes out and it'll be like new
Hmm.
movie and then it'll go back to what it was last week
Back to whatever it was that, like,
when everybody
yeah.
finds out they don't like this movie, but then the
Uh-huh.
next Friday it's whatever the new movie that week is.
Yeah.
So
See, I think
yeah.
they've changed. That's the thing with like all the horror stuff. It's like I feel like the dates change most of the time that they premiere. Like,
Well, movies come out on Thursdays now.
well, no, I mean like, but like, I mean, when we do horror shows, like I feel
Yeah.
like we'll do like the first two seasons are on Wednesday, and then the next two seasons are on a Tuesday. Like, you never know
Yeah.
what day, like of the week, the
Well,
horror
I
shows are going
also
to come
don't
out. I feel
know.
like.
Stargate always came out on a Friday, but season six, which we'll talk about when we do the season five wrap up, but season six switches networks. And so I don't know if
Mhm.
it's gonna stay on Fridays because I don't remember.
Mm.
Um, so that'll be interesting too, because so far we've had five seasons of Fridays.
Like
But
Five Nights at Freddy's.
other than the fact
Heartbreaking.
that Blade 2 came out this day, I have literally no other news. Like I spent 20 minutes, nothing, nothing
That's why it
interesting
was so
happened that day.
highly rated because
Yeah,
nothing
because
else
nothing
happened.
happened. I
Yeah.
didn't even have like terrible war in Iraq news to ignore.
Wow.
Like,
They just
like,
shut down the news sources. They were like, we can't talk anymore. Everything is bad.
yeah,
Just assume it's bad.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like the next week, I at least have like terrible stuff that happened that I didn't write about
Right.
because it was all terrible. But like this week, I literally had nothing.
Yeah. Perfect.
Um, so yeah, so that's all I got to
Can't
talk
wait.
about. But don't worry, I'm gonna still talk about some terrible stuff. So don't hold your breath. It was directed by Martin Wood, written by Joseph Malozzi and Paul Mully, and edited by Brad Rines. So nothing
All our
exciting
besties.
there. The guest, however, is someone who. So this episode was okay. This episode is the beginning of a two-parter, and the credits are exactly the same for both episodes. So there's some weirdness, and
Were they different
also.
from other ones?
No, but I mean, like, there are people who die in the first episode who are credited
Oh, I see.
in the second episode, and and people who are more important in the second episode but are credited higher in the first episode because they have just the same credits for both episodes.
Gotcha.
And the person who's credited the highest in this episode is someone who is more important to the series than potentially to this episode. Um, so. So that's it's a little weird, but it's the first time he's been on the show, so it's why he is as high as he is, and that is Cliff
Mhm.
Simon, who plays Ball.
Ball is the servant guy.
No, Ball is the Gould who is kind of the leader of the Alliance of System Lords.
Okay.
The dark
I
hair. Yes.
didn't grab their names other than the
That's
ones I
okay.
already knew.
That's
So I
okay.
recognized the name, but I couldn't remember
Yes.
who it
Yeah,
was
so
what.
he's the leader of the group of system lords that we have there, and all of the system lords that were there at the summit will be addressed at some point in the series. Like they're not going to just some of them are only addressed by
Spoiler
name.
alert, they'll still
Well,
be
no, but I'm saying
addressed.
some of them are only addressed by name, like they're not like major villains, but it's not like we just dropped a bunch of new characters at you and then we'll never talk about them again. So like don't stress out about if you remember who they are now.
Good.
Um, but
Good.
Baal is the leader of that group, and he is obviously, you could even see in the way that they interacted, the most important
Mhm.
of the characters that we met today, because you and Osiris are not new.
Right.
So of the new ones, he's the most important. So,
Got it.
um,
Yeah.
but so Cliff Simon is known for Stargate Continuum, the movie, Project Eden, The Brothers Grimsby, and Stargate SG-1. So,
What is the Brothers Grimsby?
no idea.
That sounds like something I might would like.
Unfortunately, that does kind of spoil at least a little bit because he's known his highest credit is a movie that we haven't seen yet, that we won't see for a while. So, at least he's important enough to still exist in the
I
movie.
mean, if you watch this episode, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
He was born in South Africa. He has a fascinating life. So he was born in South Africa and he moved to the UK with his family when he was a teenager and was competing to be in the Olympics. He was like he qualified for the 1984 Olympics and he was swimming for England. And then after the Olympic trials, but before the Olympics actually happened, he was so sick. This is the funniest thing, the way it was written. One morning, while scraping the ice off his car, he decided he couldn't fucking stand being this tired anymore and just went to practice and told the coach he was quitting and moved back to South Africa.
Look, I get
um,
it.
then when he was back in South Africa, he like joined the Air Force and worked did 2 years of Air Force in South Africa. And then when his term ended, he taught windsurfing and like traveled around South Africa acting. And he finally moved to the US in about 2000 and got citizenship in the US with an acting visa and like wrote a book about how he finally achieved his dreams of becoming an American citizen. And he continued to like teach windsurfing and like acting. Um, and unfortunately, he passed away in 2021 in a kiteboarding accident.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
he was 59 and still kiteboarding, which is fucking
I
amazing.
mean, I feel like those kind of people, I'm not those kind
Yeah,
of people, but those kind of people
yeah,
that do all these like adventure sports, like that's the way they'd kind of want to go. Like,
yeah. No,
like
for
they're doing what
sure.
they love the most. And
But his when he died, because it was in 2021, so it was recent. So I obviously have like strong
yeah.
memories of when it happened. It was really tragic.
See,
Um,
I didn't know him obviously.
yeah, but so yeah, so
I will tell you, The Brothers Grimsby is a Baron Cohen movie, so I'm completely wrong. I thought it was going to be like a Brothers Grimm thing. It is not.
no.
I don't know that I would like it. I don't think I would like it. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Cliff Simon. He was a great guy. Yeah, and rest in peace, my love. Um,
Awesome.
then we start with a previously on, which as a whenever we have a previously on in a mid-season episode, you know shit's about to go down.
Yeah, and I actually had seen the first like 1.5 seconds of this previously on when I finished last week's episode because I move slow. And
Yeah.
so I
Why
was
don't you
like,
just
oh
turn your
no.
autoplay off?
No, because then I'd have to turn it back on every time I want to watch anything else on Amazon.
Oh, fair enough.
And I was in the midst of chaos. Usually I'm really good at not doing that, but
Yeah.
lately I've been a little I like keep losing. My remote is currently in my purse. Like I don't have things in places that make sense right now.
Good,
So,
good, good.
yeah.
So the previously on shows some important things that seem unrelated. If you just watch
Yeah.
the previously on and then we're like, guess what this episode is about, it would be like, what the fuck is happening? Because
I
the
immediately
four,
thought, do you want to know what I thought for the
yeah, hold
previously
on.
on?
So yeah, the four scenes that are in the previously on. We have Martouf's death, Sarah becoming Osiris, the chemical from the hallucination alien, and Tanith telling us that he worked for a Goa'uld that was too powerful to tell us who he was. And that's it. So
Yeah, so I
with
only
those four scenes, what did you think we were about to experience?
saw the Martooth in the beginning of Osiris. And so I was
Yeah.
like, yes, vindicated. I said Osiris was coming back this season, and here she is. Like we have made it. I
Yeah.
saw Martooth and I was like, something like Sam is about to fall in love and marry someone. Not where I thought it was going, but I was like, she's gonna find a new love of her life. And that's why we're showing the end of Martooth because that was the last love of her life.
Yeah.
Um, so I was right with Osiris, but like I have been like just waiting for her to come back this whole
Yeah.
season. So then I didn't see the rest, so I would not have known, but I would have been very confused had I seen all of it and
Yeah.
then not watched it for
Yeah.
a week and a half.
No, but when you did watch it for real and you just had those four scenes and then before the episode started, what were you thinking?
I was like, well, we're getting the big bad, whoever the next one is. Which
Yeah.
I have a lot of confusing thoughts about that we'll get until we get to it. But
Um,
I was like, we're getting the next big bad and Osiris. But I thought maybe Osiris is the big bad that no one wanted to talk about. And I was like, because I couldn't remember if Tanith had any overlap with Osiris. I don't think
mm,
so, right?
no.
Right. So I was like, maybe that's who he was referring to, and we just happened to have already met them and he didn't
Well, yeah,
know.
but it could have because we obviously haven't seen
Yeah.
anything that Tanith did when he wasn't around. So
Right.
it could have been, yeah.
And so that's kind of what I was thinking. And then I thought Sam was gonna fall in love.
That's fair.
So
Um, Also unrelated, but to do with your confusing thoughts and the fact that we are introduced to a lot of Goa'ulds. This is just a completely random thing that happened that is funny. On Good Friday, when we were having our fish fries, we watched The Prince of Egypt, like me and Dan's
uh-huh.
whole family. And during the scene where the court magicians sing the song where they talk about all the Egyptian gods, I
Mhm.
leaned over to Dan and whispered in his ear, and I was like, "That's a lot of Goa'uld." And he was laughing so hard and like trying not to like laugh out loud in the middle of his family watching this movie. And I was like,
That's
"Yes."
so funny.
Um, but it was funny because the when they were singing, they don't say a lot of the names of the ones that we know, but they were talking about Anubis, and I was like, "Oh, right, we're getting to Anubis soon." Yes.
So that was
Um,
my confusion because I thought we had already talked about Anubis. Um,
so yes,
okay,
but
so I haven't
no,
lost my mind.
no.
Great. Love when
You
that happens.
you haven't, but the show kind of did. So what happened was, in the movie, Ra's first prime is Anubis.
Okay,
But
okay. I thought that.
yes. But then then they didn't really want to keep that because Anubis is such an important god in the Egyptian pantheon, and
Hmm.
having Anubis be like the servant of Ra is not
Right.
like good enough. So they basically rewrote the canon to say that like the Jaffa who was the first prime was just obsessed with the um visual of Anubis and took the name and said he was Anubis because, as we found out in this episode, Anubis has theoretically been dead for for 1,000 years.
Right. Okay, so
So
I am
yes,
not
so
crazy.
you're
They
not
just
crazy.
changed
You're not
everything.
crazy. They just went with this idea that Anubis had been
Gotcha.
dead for so long that anyone's claiming to be Anubis up until this point was just like honoring the actual Anubis.
God, because see, that's why I was confused. I was like, they said he's been dead for so long. I was like, I swear we talked about it. And I was like, maybe me and you just talked about Anubis because he's like a god everyone knows. Like, I don't know.
Yes,
So, okay,
no,
great. So, again, the movie shouldn't exist. Awesome.
correct. 100%.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool, cool,
that's
cool.
what it was. It was the movie having nothing to do with the show except for the premise
Mhm.
of the show. Um,
Yeah.
but so we begin the episode with a fleet of ships, just in the middle of space, and Zapakna, who, if you remember, did you remember us meeting Zapakna? That's my
No,
question.
no, 0%.
Zapakna was the Goa'uld who was in the Tolan trial when we removed Chlorel from Skara.
Yep, no,
Yes.
that is I remember this. I still don't like place them. I think the only one that I remembered before today was you and Osiris. Like, I don't think I
Yes.
recognized anyone else that was in this
No,
situation.
so Zapakna, who is the one who is off doing the Tok'ra side of things, we know him already. We know Osiris, we know you. No one else have we met before today.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So, but Zapagna is meeting with Osiris and basically asking her to form an alliance. And she was like, you don't have anything to give me. You're a fucking nobody. Because it's true, Zapagna is a nobody. And he's like, I am a nobody. You're right. But I work for someone super powerful. And she's like, yeah, right. And then this is the first time we have heard the name of who all of these Goa'uld are working for, who the big bad that everyone is afraid of. And that is Anubis. And then we get the credits.
Dun, dun, dun.
So back at the SGC, there's an off-world visit, and it is from the Tok'ra, and Raynal has come to talk to them about the mission that Jacob is on right now. She tells them that the whole Goa'uld leadership, like all the system lords, are having a meeting, or like are meeting to have a summit and discuss a new order since they've all been just like warring and they're like not doing too hot. So they're like going to try to like come up with an alliance.
Which
And
like
she's
it feels like you waited a really long time to get to this point. Like
right.
we've had a lot of issues. Everyone's dying, and they're like, okay, now that
Yeah.
73 people have died, maybe we should talk about this. Like,
Correct. And she's like, well, they're like, so what are you going to do about it? She's like, actually, we want to let it happen. And they're like, excuse me? And she's like, no, we want to let it happen so we can attack all of them at once. Okay. Maybe not so stupid. She's like, the problem is that it's going to be like borderline impossible to do this, but because of colors, the Goa'uld always find some way to fuck themselves over. Like for a
Like-
very powerful and advanced species, they make some really dumb decisions.
and also like they should have killed Earth so many times by now. Like the fact that Earth is still alive is because
Yes.
they keep messing up, I feel like.
Yes and no. The Asgard Treaty is why Earth is still alive.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, I think if it wasn't, I feel like the Gold might could start taking some people out. Like, even like Nox, Asgard. I don't know if they could start taking out some of that alliance.
Yeah, they can't take out the Asgard. They're not good enough for that. They're not powerful enough for that. If they were, they would have. Like, you know what I mean?
That's probably true. That's probably true.
So however, each system lord will be allowed to bring one human slave with them to the summit, which just shows that not only are they power hungry, they're also fucking useless because they couldn't like function without a slave to do things for them. And they want to use Daniel to infiltrate since he speaks fluent Goa'uld. I saw a Reddit post that was like, how at this point does no one else at the SGC except Teal'c and Daniel speak fluent Goa'uld? What have we been doing for 5 years?
But also, how at this point in the SGC are we still trying to send Daniel on missions by himself? Like, we don't have a great track record with sending Daniel on missions by himself. But also, like, he would have died if they left him at the Tok'ra base. So I guess they just had to get him so he didn't die. Like,
yeah.
But Jesus Christ. It's too much.
So Daniel brushes up on his Goa'uld, and Teal'c's like, you don't like violence, but like we don't have a better plan. And Daniel's like, yeah, I know, that's why I'm gonna do it. So SG-1 and another team head down to Ravana, which is the Tok'ra planet, and the other team is just going for an orientation, but it's Lieutenant Elliot's first off-world trip.
Yay.
Yay.
He came back much faster than I expected.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to come back I thought he was going to come back, but I thought he was going to come back like next season.
Next season, yeah. But so the new team gets their orientation and SG-1 is going to the briefing to have a meeting and figure out the plan for the mission. Oh. Daniel is going to be using the chemical that they made based on their experience with the Raol to convince you that he is a trusted Lotar, which is like a personal assistant, like personal servant.
So, which one was the Raol again? That's the one that pretended to be part of the SG team.
Yes, with the hallucination drug.
Hallucination stuff. Okay.
Yeah. And go to the summit with him. Nearty won't be there because she's still on the run as a renegade, and you will be the one that Daniel is with. So no one else will know who Daniel is. So they should be good.
When they started talking about Nearty being a renegade, all I could picture was that she went off and joined the Renegades from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Could you imagine?
Could you? How crazy would that be? Like what a crossover.
Right? My note just says, obviously that's not true, but okay. And it's only,
Yeah.
we only know it's not true because we already had a scene in this episode with Sapakna and Osiris, who both do know who Daniel is. So like, I was like, they kind of like went a little heavy-handed on the foreshadowing on that one. Um, and that's probably one of the reasons why this episode is not higher in
I was just
rating
about to say, yeah,
because
that makes sense.
there's a lot of the
You know
first
what's
half,
going
like
to happen
yeah,
10
the
minutes before
first
it happens every time.
right, the first half of this episode for sure. Like the I will say because it's a two-parter, and to be transparent, Courtney and I have both already watched both parts. Um,
Yeah.
the first episode is a little predictable. I think the second
Yeah.
episode makes up for it in some interesting ways, but the first episode is very
Okay.
predictable. Not to say that it's like 100% not predictable. Like there's still some predictable elements, but there's some interesting things that they
Yeah.
do in the second part. But the first episode is,
It's not quite the same as the first one. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so Daniel is going to release a poison that they have that will kill all of the symbiotes, but not hurt the hosts or humans. But it doesn't actually save the hosts because of the toxin that the Goa'uld releases
Uh-huh.
itself when um
It's
it
attacked.
they die. Yeah, like when they die. And SG-1 is like concerned about that not being like the best plan. But then we remember what happened to Apophis when he was dying and how when his body aged back to his actual like human age, it was like so much worse for him to still be
Exactly.
alive.
Yeah.
And so like he was like, you have to remember, like most of these Goa'uld have had the same hosts for like centuries at this point. Their human bodies have been in the sarcophagus like 87,000 times. Like without
Mhm.
the symbiote, they're not capable
They
of
wouldn't
still
be
being
alive
alive.
anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's not as rough as you're thinking because it is actually merciful to like kill them this way
Yeah.
than let them like try to survive the host dying.
Right.
Um, there will be 7 system lords at this event. Um, I didn't write down all their names, but I know all their names. You, Baal, Bastet, Morrigan, Callie, Savagnos, and Olukan. Um, those are obviously not all Egyptian gods, and that was very intentional. Um,
They are, this little thing they've set up is like such a good way of being like, we're gonna have 73 more seasons of this show. Like, if you,
yeah.
as long as they renew us, we have set up for so many different storylines.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's because they from the beginning, um, but yeah, it was basically from the beginning because it's within the
yeah.
first few episodes of meeting Teal'c, we find out that Kronos killed his father. So they set up from season 1
Mhm.
that the Goa'uld are not Egyptian gods. They're all
Right.
pantheons of gods that humans believed in. And so that sets you up to have eons of
Yeah.
stories.
But I meant more of like introducing us to all of these at one
Yes.
time. So it's like now we are like, I mean, I guess I'm not like invested in every one of them right now, but we get little tidbits. We know that the two, is it Callie and Morgan, are the ones that were a lot of their team has been destroyed, and now
Oh,
Olacon's got all these things like
oh
going on
yeah.
with his
Oh
team
yeah, no,
being
yeah.
traitors and
Callie and Bastet,
Bestat.
Bastet are the two that are fighting. Morrigan is the redheaded one who didn't speak for the whole time. Um,
Gotcha, gotcha.
um,
But it's like you have these little tidbits, and it's like that's such a good starting point that now that like people who are intrigued are like, oh, now I want to see like what is this one? Like what more are we gonna
yeah,
get now? So
yeah.
it was
And I always love a show that you have to like learn actual historical facts to understand the
mhm.
show. So,
Yeah.
um, then, so they're going to take out all 7 of these system lords, and that will buy them time for a full-scale attack on all the Goa'uld because it will give them an even bigger hole to fill. Like, obviously, the warring that has been happening since Kronos and Apophis died, is huge, But if you take out 7 more system lords, it leaves a vacuum because there isn't anyone else.
Yeah.
So that they think. Because minor Goa'ulds like Zapakna and Osiris aren't going to be able to like control fleets and armies the way the system lords can.
Right, right.
But then we find out that Zapakna knows about the weapon and is planning to use it on the Tok'ra.
So I I felt like so I kept thinking when I saw this guy's face that I recognized his face.
Yeah.
And it took me like even after the 2 episodes, I don't know why I can't remember enough about him. Like
We've only seen him in the last, we saw him once before in another two-parter. So we've seen him.
in like big moments is what it was, maybe.
Yeah.
What
So it was,
other, do you remember what other shows he was in? I feel like he was a big part of something. I'm sorry that I'm just like harping on this, but like
no,
I can't get past this guy.
this notebook starts with season 5, so I don't have the right notebook.
It's really not that important.
No,
it's
but
just my brain.
so do you remember the two-parter that he was in this show already?
It was the one you just said it was with
Yeah.
the Tola Council where they had all of the different ones, and there was somebody who was one of them defected. Oh no 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 no!
No,
This
no,
is
no.
not.
That's not that. That's where you is from. Zapakna, remember when Skara
Oh.
was like, I don't want to be a Goa'uld, I want to fight him, I want to remove him. And they had to have like the triad council where it was like
Mhm.
the Goa'uld and the human both fighting for Skara. He was the Goa'uld that was fighting to keep the Goa'uld in Skara.
Oh, okay, okay, yes. Now I remember why he looked so familiar, and I couldn't remember him. Okay, yes.
Yes,
Okay,
that
sorry.
was the
Yes,
two-parter. And I think that two-parter was in season
three.
3. Yes, it was. It was season. Yes, it was Shades of Grey, I think. Or no, Pretense. It was in, yeah, it
Mm.
was middle of season 3
Yeah,
is when.
but yeah, he does know a lot at all times. He always knows too much.
Yes. And we talked about him when we did that, but he's been in a lot of things. Like he was in Wolverine, he was in I Am Number 4, he was in a bunch of the
Okay.
uh Planet of the Apes movies. So yes,
But I very clearly remember his face from Stargate too now.
yes.
So like I get it now, yeah.
Yeah.
I hate him. Okay. Welcome.
So Daniel questions Jacob on like on their way, they're on their way to the summit, and Daniel is very down, and Jacob is like, what's the issue? And he's like, how will this poison that's going to kill all the symbiotes affect the Jaffa? And and Jacob's like, yeah, like that's a wrinkle that we're still working out, but unfortunately at this point, yeah, until we know how to get their immune systems to work without the gold, like yes, they will
Everyone
also
dies.
die.
Yeah.
And Daniel does not love that. He's like super, we know how Daniel feels about like mass murder. He's not really thrilled that this is the
He's like the
choice we're making.
pacifist of the group. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, if there's a way to negotiate, I would like to take that, please. Um, the Tok'ra orientation is thrilling. That's the note that I wrote. Because we just have a scene of Lieutenant Elliot and Major Mansfield's team like walking around learning about the Tok'ra tunnels, and it is boring as all get out.
Yes, which Jack makes very clear to everyone.
Yeah. Then we go back to Jacob, and he's getting Daniel ready to give you the real chemical, and he's like dressing him as a servant of you. Then we go to the lab on Ravana, where Renal is telling Sam that Martouf's memories still live on because Lantash is still alive. They saved the symbiote, and they're in the process of searching for a new host. And Sam loses her fucking mind because she is pissed that they saved Lantash and not Martouf.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, we didn't know, like we knew we could save one, we didn't know we could save both, and it would be better to have one alive than both of them dead. And Sam's like, no, that's not what it was. You wanted to be able to examine his brain to do your research. And
I
it is a
mean, I don't always side with the symbiote side, but like they kind of made the right choice. Like Landash has way more information,
correct.
and
No, and I get that. And it's so hard because Sam is also a scientist.
yeah,
And a lot of times she makes the correct scientific decision, but when she gets emotional, she
she
can't.
gets yeah, and so I think she was just a little too emotional here.
And because the thing is, they didn't know if
Hmm.
both of them would survive. And if they tried to save Martouf and lost both of them, then they would lose two lives and all of the scientific
Yeah.
research.
Hmm.
And Raynal even makes that point. She's like, you knew Martouf incredibly well. What decision would he have made for himself? And then Sam shuts up because we all know
Yeah.
Martouf would have been like, no, this
And
is the
like
correct thing.
I really believe that the Tok'ra did their best to save both before it came to a point. Like I don't have any question that
The
it was just
Tok'ra,
like one
the
or the other,
Tok'ra,
let's go.
yeah, the Tok'ra don't always make the most emotional decisions because
Right.
at the end of the day, they are related to the gold. Like that is what
Right.
it is. Like, and they are, but they are a people that has lived its entire existence at war and fighting to survive. So they
Yeah.
don't have the luxury of making emotional decisions. And this is a very constant theme in Stargate where the SGC will show up and impress human morals on other species and get mad when they don't follow a
Right.
American human moral system.
But that is something I've never heard of before in my life happening. I'm shocked. We have never done that before as America.
Americans could never. It's like the episode, like last week's episode when the Russian was like, "You couldn't start a war that the Americans knew nothing about." We're like, but we could.
We can do whatever we want. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, um, then we see Daniel zats Jaren, the actual Lotor, and like carries the tea into you and pricks him with the chemical, and it works. So Daniel is all set. He's undercover now. Um,
Hmm.
However, back on Ravana, a fleet of ships is headed there, and is attacking them, and they are the fleet of ships is very well prepared and also keeping a constant wormhole open to make sure that the Toker have no means of escape.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good times, but they're had by
Well,
none.
it's not great. It's not great for the Tok'ra.
Yeah, Daniel and you get to the summit, and you warn Daniel he can't trust anyone, which, um, God, sometimes I know you is a Goa'uld and he's a system lord and we're not on his side, but wouldn't it be nice if Daniel fucking listened to someone ever?
Truly. Truly.
Because Daniel's problems in this two-parter occur primarily because he trusts people.
And like the thing is, like, yes, no, you is not a good person, but also like you thinks this is his number one servant now. And he like does actually kind of seem kind for a Goa'uld. Like he's not
Well, and
trying
that's and
to
that's the
do
thing is
bad by Daniel.
we don't know a lot about you. But
Uh-huh.
we do know that when the Asgard Treaty was taking place on Earth, Kronos obviously had ulterior motives. Nirti had ulterior motives. You didn't. You very earnestly signed the treaty.
Yeah.
We see him, obviously, we'll talk more about it next week, but we see him stand by that.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
seems to be the least problematic or hard-headed of any of the Goa'uld that
Well, he
we've
seems to
met.
be the most loyal to things he says. So maybe he doesn't always have the right thing, but once he's made a decision, that's what he's loyal to, is whatever agreement he makes or whatever person works for him or
And
with him. Like,
I truly believe that that is intentional
mhm,
because not just for a character, but I think that that is a reflection of the religious pantheon he is a part of.
mm,
So if you look at the way the Egyptian and Greek gods are portrayed in mythology, they are unforgiving, they are selfish, they are driven, they make decisions, they don't care about their people. That's how they're portrayed
mhm,
in mythology. That's the stories that the Goa'ulds are.
right.
You look at the way that the Asgard are treated because of the way that the Norse gods are looked at differently. They're still all powerful. They're still, you can't touch them, but they're looked at more benevolently
Mhm,
and separated because that's true in Norse mythology. You represent the Jade Empire of Taoism, which is not a aggressive or
mhm,
um, individualistic religious practice. So you isn't, while he is powerful, while he is still a Goa'uld, he is representing this type of religious practice. His people follow him because of who he is. So he's not going to be conniving the way others are because that's not what the Jade Empire of Taoism is.
right.
And
Yeah,
I think I
and
think it's
that makes a
really
lot of sense.
fascinating. I think it's really fascinating in terms of, and obviously we've got 4 episodes of this man, and he is still a Goa'uld, and he still
Yeah.
participates in all the Goa'uld things. So like, am I saying I want to hang out with him?
I
Mm,
mean,
no.
no.
But I'm saying when you look at the way he handles things compared to, say, Apophis or Kronos, it actually makes sense.
Hmm. And
Um,
that's why Daniel should just follow
just
rules
just fucking
and
listen.
just listen.
Yeah. Back on Ravana, the Tok'ra are scrambling to try and spread out the attack, but like they don't have a lot of options. They can't escape anywhere. So there's a lot of chaos happening down there. Um, Daniel and you do a roll call of all the Goa'uld at the summit and like introduce us. That's how we meet all of these people. And so their names is basically like you testing Daniel and making sure he knows who everyone is and what they can be trusted and what they can't. And we meet Val. And he explains that everyone there is suffering the same kind of losses and that there's this mysterious gold and that they don't need the alliance so much to keep people in check. They need the alliance to band together against whatever the fuck is out there.
Right.
Um, we go back. This goes back and forth a lot, but we go back to the Toker base. They're being heavily attacked. Jack loses contact with Mansfield. Shit's not going too well. We find out we knew before, but again, because this episode is really predictable and tells us things after it already told us things, we find out that Zapakna is in fact behind the attack and he has no intention of stopping. Um,
Mhm.
Major Mansfield does not survive. Um, and so that's sad. And basically, Elliot is the only member of his team who is still alive and still with us. Um, Daniel, back up in on the spaceship, radios to Jacob and tells him everything that he found out from Ball, and also tells him that there's a new secret Goa'uld coming who wasn't on the roster, who isn't a system lord, who wants to discuss things with them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
Surprise. We're all
surprise.
shocked.
Yeah. Sam wants to use Lantash to save Major Mansfield, and Raynell's like, no, you can't do that. Like, his injuries are too bad, and Lantash is not ready. But then the lab takes heavy fire, and everything collapses, including the container that Lantash is being kept alive in. Um, Jack, Teal'c, and Aldwin, who was the teacher of the Toker orientation class, are up on the surface checking out what's happening and seeing all the Jaffa that are there. But then Aldwin, they decide to go back because Sam isn't responding on the radio and Aldwin does not make it. So that's not
Everyone
great.
dies.
Everyone's dead.
Mhm.
Um, things are because it's headed toward the last couple minutes of the episode and they want to leave you on a giant cliffhanger, things kind of like get a little intense right
Yeah.
here. So instead of going back and forth, I'm just going to do the two storylines. So like on the
Great.
Ravana side of it, they decide to go back because Sam's not there. Aldwin dies. They finally get back into the lab to check on Sam, and they're trying to escape, but then the tunnels collapse all around them, and now they are all trapped inside the lab. And that is the end of their story for the two-parter, or for the first part. The less exciting but more dramatic, really,
Yeah.
storyline is happening in space where the Goa'uld are like arguing at the summit. This is when we find out that Olakun's men like abandoned him and went to work for whoever this other person was, and
Yeah.
that there's fighting and that everybody's losing lots and lots of men. Things are not going well. And they're arguing behind which one of them could potentially be behind all these attacks. And they're like, why would any of us be behind it and then be here? We're all suffering the same things. And then Osiris walks in. And oh, I forgot when we found out that Aldwin died, we also found out that Lantash escaped the pod and put himself inside Lieutenant Elliot. Skipped that line in my
Yeah.
notes. Um, so then, but after Osiris is there, Daniel is telling Jacob what happened and that Sarah is there and he's like, did she recognize you? He's like, I think so, but she didn't say anything. I'm very confused. I don't know what she's playing at. And then she walks in and says, Daniel Jackson, you are a long way away from home.
Yeah. Of course she recognized him. She has a
Of
both
course.
memories. Like, what do you think is
Right.
gonna happen?
Exactly. Yeah, and then that's our cliffhanger. So Daniel's about to be trapped by Osiris, and everyone else is trapped in an unescapable cave. Um, I don't have a lot of trivia other than some of the little things that I've said throughout it about
Yeah.
like the gods themselves, because most of the trivia is
It's for next
spoilery and
episode.
has to be a next episode because it was the
Ah,
two-parter.
gotcha.
Um, so I don't have a lot of trivia, and we also can't really do predictions because we've seen the second
Right.
half of the episode. So let's just jump right to who you want to punch.
I would like to punch Zaychak. Is that his name? I keep saying his name wrong. What is his name?
Zapakna?
Sabakta. My brain is not working. I'm trying very hard to make my brain work. I'm drinking hot tea and everything. Zapagna. And I know
Yeah.
that like in the grand scheme of things, he didn't really do anything crazy today.
Yeah.
But I just remembered after we talked about it how much I hated him from last time.
I mean,
And that he
what do you
does
mean
know a lot
didn't
of
do
shady
anything
stuff.
crazy? He like blew up the entire Tok'ra base.
Well, I guess that's true. We just didn't see a lot of him like personally. Like, you know,
Right.
it wasn't
Yeah.
anything like shocking that he did, I guess, is more what I was saying. He
Yeah.
did bad things,
He
but I
did
just
terrible things.
want to punch him as a person.
That's
Like,
totally fair. Um, I want to punch Daniel Jackson.
also
Daniel
fair.
Daniel Jackson didn't like kill anyone or destroy the hopes and dreams of any of our favorite characters. But he did continue to make the stupidest decisions that any one human being could over and over again.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So annoying. Daniel
Yeah.
has gotten more annoying this season.
He has, and I think it's because he's got so many extremes now because he did like he was so impressive in the like negotiation scene
Uh-huh.
with the Russians, but then he goes
Yeah.
back and he goes back to all the same stupid stuff that he's always done. And it's like you should have grown by now. We are 5 seasons in. You should start like getting some of these elements of like, you have to make
Yeah.
these choices because you're part of the military, even though you're like technically not. Like you
Right.
are. And
Yeah.
so you need to start acting like it.
But yeah, so he's just annoying. And so then who is your MVP?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I guess
It's
I
really hard when the
guess
episode ends on a cliffhanger and nothing good is happening to have an MVP.
I guess Jacob, because he's kind of risking himself by going onto the space with Daniel with the like chemical that's going to kill everyone. And
True.
he's really trying to rein everyone in, even though it's not really working because it's Daniel Jackson. But
Yeah.
like he really is trying to be the best leader of all. So
Yeah, he really wasn't in the episode much.
wasn't,
But
but
no, but I'm gonna say no, my person was in even less than Jacob.
oh,
Uh, but since everyone who we saw in this episode was either making stupid decisions or a bad guy, and you already picked Jacob, I'm gonna go with Jack
Mhm.
because like I genuinely have no idea because literally no one else. Like Sam was obstinate, Daniel was annoying, all the Goa'uld are terrible.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
I don't
Yep,
I don't have anyone else.
correct.
Um, yeah, so there's not a lot to talk about because it's the first half of a two-parter, so we will have a much more in-depth conversation next week. Um, I also can't give spoilers or predictions because it's the second half of a two-parter that we've
Yeah,
already
yeah.
seen. Um, and so
Spoilers, it's gonna be the second half.
correct. Yeah, that's where we're at. So on Thursday, we have a very long and exciting episode of Thriller Thursday for American Horror Story. And if you would like to talk to us about this two-parter or about anything else, really, you can, or if you want to discuss the pantheon of gods that are now in the shows and the different religions, because that would be kind
Hmm.
of cool. Um, Please email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com or follow us on any of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me everywhere at ENKAY_superstar.
And you can find me at CE Cloud 13.
And we will see you on Thursday.
See you then.
Bye.